members.
Almighty God, who in your infinite wisdom and providential goodness have appointed the offices of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of humanity, we beseech you to look upon with your abundant favor these your servants, whom you have been pleased to call to the performance of such important tasks in this land. Let your blessing descend upon them here assembled, and grant that they may, as in your presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under their deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the good of those whose interests you have committed to their charge.
Amen.
Amen.
Item number 3 on the order paper, communication from the chair.
Honourable members, Your Excellency the President, I welcome you to this special sitting to discuss a matter of national importance. And I want first to inform the members that you are free to sit anywhere for today. Honourable members, you do recall that during the budget speech, His Excellency the President requested for an opportunity to address the country through Parliament on the state of security in this country. And this meeting is convened. This meeting is convened under Article 101(2) of the Constitution, which provides that the President may, in consultation with the Speaker, address Parliament from time to time on any matter of national importance. I therefore wish to welcome Your Excellency the President of the Republic of Uganda, Commander-in-Chief of the Defense Forces, and the Fountain of Honor. I'm sure honourable members and the country at large are eagerly awaiting for the presidential address. But before you invite the President, I want to just draw your attention to Rule 10 and two parts of Rule 10. One, that while the President occupies the chair of state, he may make a presidential statement which shall be heard in silence and not followed by any comment or debate. Rule 10.4.2 states that the President shall not participate in the proceedings of the House in any way. Your Excellency, this rule inhibits our interaction with you. Therefore, on behalf of the House, I want to request that a time should be found when we can have a free meeting with you to discuss, to have an exchange on the issues of security in a different arena. Your Excellency, I now invite you to address the country.
His Excellency the Vice President of Uganda, the Right Honourable Speaker of Parliament, the Right Honourable Prime Minister, the Right Honourable Deputy Prime Ministers, Honourable Ministers, the Right Honourable Leader of the Opposition, Honourable Members of Parliament, ladies and gentlemen. Right Honourable Speaker, I have got a very good meeting hall at Entebbe, Government State House, so you are welcome, all of you, to that case you are allergic to State House, in case you have got some allergy when it comes to State House, we have also got a nearby hall here in this parliamentary building. We can all meet there and interact freely from those restrictions which you put on yourselves. So for me, I'm available, I have no problem. And the Right Honourable Speaker, I've decided to use the rights of the President under Article 101, Clause 2 of the 1995 Constitution of the Republic of Uganda to address Parliament. I will exercise this right in order to sensitize the members of Parliament and the public about defeating challenges of insecurity. In the early years of the NRM government, I visited the area of Busoga. It could have been Luwoka. As part of the entertainment for me, one of the dance groups performed an Emandwa dance. The Basoga, we are calling that dance the Baswezi dance. Emandwa were spiritual mediums that people in a large part of the Great Lakes worshipped and appealed to convey their supplications to Ruhanga Nyamuhanga or Katondo Wobutonzi or Rubanga in Luo, which all means God, the Creator. The spirit mediums were not God themselves. They were intermediaries between the people and God. What is interesting is that these spirit mediums were originally human beings. The dance I witnessed in Luwuka was called Baswezi, dance by the Basoga. This would be Bachwezi in Buganda, Bunyoro, Toro, Ankole, Karagwe, Bukoba, the last two are in Tanzania, and even Eastern Congo. I have not checked as to whether it spread to Rwanda beyond the Mtara region, which was part of Mpororo Nkore before colonialism or not. These were generations of people that had succeeded in bringing stability to this part of the Great Lakes. Excavations at Ntutsi and Bugobya Mjenyi, these are in Zimbabwe, have shown that those sites were being used by these people between 900 AD and 1500 AD. Dr. Sutton John of the British Archaeological Society in 1998 revealed that there were huge settlements at those sites by 900 AD to 1500 AD. The names of these Bachwezi that stand out are Wamala, Mugasha, whom the Baganda call Mukasa, Mulindwa, Ndahura, or Ndaura as in Uganda, Kagoro, Isimbwa or Simbwa, Chomia. That name of Chomia, I find it in Busoga mainly. According to the oral history of this area, it seemed that these people had succeeded in uniting under one kingdom much of present-day Uganda. Bunyoro, Toro, Ankole, Buganda, Busoga, Lango, what we call Buchiri. These people on this side of the Nile, the historical name of Lango is Buchiri. Or Buked, some people call it Buked, but it is Buchiri. Acholi chiefdoms, which are called Gani traditionally. Buhaya, Karagwe in Tanzania, Rwanda, and the Hema chiefdoms of Eastern Congo, Bunya. When that dynasty collapsed, for reasons, that unity brought peace and stability and prosperity to the region for maybe 500 years. When that dynasty collapsed, for reasons that are not clear, the area was taken over by the smaller kingdoms that we found in place in our time. These are the kingdoms of Buganda, Bunyoro, Toro, Nkore Mporero, Busoga chiefdoms, Lango chiefdoms or Buchiri, Acholi chiefdoms or Gani, Buhaya and Karagwe in Tanzania, Rwanda, and the Hema chiefdoms of Eastern Congo in the area of Bunya. These little kingdoms, run by egocentric and tyrannical kings and chiefs, fomented endless wars and insecurity for 400 years until the area was taken over by the British, the Germans, and the Belgians. The armies were very indisciplined. That was part of their weakness, and that was one of the reasons they were defeated by the foreigners. To take one example, Henry Morton Stanley passing through passing through the Bunya area of Congo in 1889, wrote as follows of the cavalry of the army. As you know, that Bunya is in Congo, but it is inhabited by Banyoro-speaking people and Arus and other people who are part of our system here. So this is what Stanley wrote in 1889 when he passed through that area. In quotes, we have formed a confederacy on the plateau embracing all the region from the Ituri River to the Nyanza. Nyanza is, of course, he was not able to pronounce these things properly, but Nyanza means Nyanja, in Urinyoro, Nyanja, meaning Lake Albert. He's talking about Lake Albert. They formed, embracing all the regions from the Ituri River to the Nyanza, for protection granted them against the marauding Balega. Balega is the name we give Congolese. We, the indigenous people of this area, traditionally we call the people of Congo Balega. That's why you hear Kabalega. Kabalega. Kabalega, I think his mother had something to do with Congo. So Kabalega, it meant that Akana Kabalega, the child of Balega. Since you spend so much time in Europe, I thought I should bring you down here to our part of the world. So to go back to the quotation of Stanley, we have formed a confederacy on the plateau embracing all the region from the Ituri River to the Nyanza. Nyanza is Lake Albert. But this is on the Congo side, it's not on the Uganda side, on the side of Bunya. For protection granted them against marauding Balega of the mountains. These Balega in this case were the Lendu. The Lendu. If you go to Zombo, some of these Lendus are there, and they are part of the Zombo, but they are mainly in Congo. Balega of the mountains and Warusura. Warusura Warusura. No, I'm just reading the way they wrote. The way Stanley wrote. Now Warusura is the Swahilinization. No, that one is another issue. The Warusura is the Swahili, because Stanley was moving around with the Swahili people from Zanzibar. He was moving with people from Zanzibar. So they were writing in Swahili. So Warusura means Barusura. Barusura, which was the army of Kabarega. That's what the army of the Banyoro was called. It was called Abarusura. Now it's not there, it's just we have got UPDF, we don't have So marauding Balega, who are the Lendu of the mountains, and the Warusura of Kaba Rega. The chiefs agree to supply us with contributions of grain and cattle and to surrender the government of the country into my hands, into the hands of Stanley. To raise fighting men whenever ordered, and to assist me in invading Unyoro should retaliation for invasion of their soil by the Warusura render it necessary. End of quote. This portion is found on page 147 of Stanley's book entitled In the Darkest Africa, Volume 2. I will make another quotation. Later on, I will put in the speech another quotation which is interesting. There are so many. I will see which one is which is there. But for instance, this one here. The British invaded Bunyoro Kitara to control resources of the kingdom. We shall see evidence in the records of the agents of Britain who massacred large numbers of Banyoro. Lugard had estimated in 1893 Banyoro to number over 2.5 million people. He wrote, Unyoro is probably more populous than Uganda, meaning Buganda, and Ankoli, meaning Ankole, about equal to it. Danba estimates the population was reduced to 400,000, from 2.5 million to 400,000. I will quote this. When Uganda, so the point I'm making here is that this part of yours, this part called Uganda, has had a lot of problems. First of all, we had the chiefs fighting among themselves. That one I quoted, and very indisciplined. You see how, in the other quotation, the Stanley is jubilating because the tribes, the Banyoro tribes on the Congo side, have joined him to fight Kabarega because Kabarega soldiers were always misbehaving, looting and so on and so forth. That's what the quotation is saying. The Barusura were because of indiscipline, we are driving away the tribes who are actually Banyoro. They are Banyoro speakers, but because of indiscipline, they were ready to welcome foreigners to protect them against the indiscipline of the Abarusura. Now, after that problem of the chiefs, then we come to the British themselves. They come with their own problems, and you see what they are talking about here. Population of Bunyoro. Today, Banyoro are only 1 million. Today, people you call Banyoro are only 1 million. But in 1893, there were 2.5 million, according to Lugard. So that whole population was reduced because of the British and their army. When Uganda was subdued, the British colonial army was more disciplined and was rarely seen in public. This one I know because you know what you call history, you people I call current affairs, because I was there. So, when Uganda was subdued, the British Colonial Army was more disciplined and was rarely seen in public, but it had a weak infrastructure of being mainly a tribal army of a few tribes. As already said above, it moreover failed to subdue Karamoja and Turkana. After independence, this former colonial army became very brutal and engaged in massive extrajudicial killings at every opportunity. During the 1966 crisis, a lot of people were killed. When Mzee Obote was shot, 1969, a lot of people were killed. Throughout the reign of Amin, during the West Nile operation of 1981, during the operations in Ruero of 1981 to 1985, etc. So, the history of bad armies, that's what I am trying to bring to you. The history of bad armies for almost 400 years, from the time of the, I really pity some of our people, because when they talk as if Uganda started with the British. It's really amazing. Even if when Jesus was born, you were not there, but you know what happened. Somebody thinks that they were not there, but you were a Christian, but were you there when Jesus was born? or when Muhammad was born, were you there? We belong to things even if we are not there. We inherit. We call it heritage. So there is the Christian heritage, there is the Islamic heritage, but there is also the Great Lakes heritage. We are people of this area from time immemorial, and we shall be here forever. That's why therefore I am disturbing you by unearthing this history, because you don't have time to know about yourselves. You know about everybody else except yourselves. That is why from NASA. So what I'm telling you all this to bring you to the present. That's why from NASA, the NRA, the National Resistance Army, the NRM, and the UPDF made it their core point to build a detribalized, disciplined, and ideological national army. During the 8 years of the anti-Amin struggle, this was one of the major points on which we disagreed with Mzee Obote and the UPC while we were in Tanzania. The climax of our disagreements and different viewpoints was reached in October 1978 when Idi Amin attacked Tanzania. At that time, the UPC had a force of about 1,000 people at Kigwa in Tabora, Tanzania. remnants of the 1972 anti-Amin debacle. There was that invasion in which I also took part of 1972, which was defeated. Now, these 1,000 mainly Achoris who were at Tabora were remnants of that force of 1972. So these are the ones the late Tito Kero and Oito Jok came with to the front line at the end of 1978. On our side, we had a group of 28 cadres whom I had spent 2 years training at Montepuez, Mozambique, plus a few individuals we had trained earlier, including Ahmed Seguya, who had been part of the 1972 group that we had trained in farm number 17 in Nachingwea, Tanzania. These were trained for us by Frelimo of Mozambique with the permission of Mwalimu Nyerere. I arrived on the front line on the 23rd of December 1978 with some of this group. By the 11th of April 1979, when Idi Amin fled Kampala, we had a force of 9,000 fighters and cadres, while the UPC comrades only had a force of 1,900, including the original 1,000 that had come from Tanzania. Now you need to study that. Why is it that we who had a smaller force, I had only 28 fighters when I arrived on the front line on the 23rd of December 1978. The UPC had 1,000. But by the 11th of April, when Amin collapsed, our force had grown to 9,000, while the UPC was still only 1,900, including the original 1,000. So you should study that and know why. The rest, as you know, is history. By 1986, the contending two lines, ours, because there were two lines, there were two lines of thinking. We were saying we need to build a detribalized ideological army. But our brothers were saying no, politics kwa jeshi mbaya sana, they should build askari, just askari na askari tu, that he should not have any ideology in his head, and he should just be a soldier. So by 1986, the issue had been resolved, as you saw. By 1986, the contending two lines, ours of building an ideological, detribalized, a national army on the one hand, versus our brothers of relying on sectarian ones on the other, had resolved itself in favor of the former. Militarily gaining the upper hand by the forces of patriotism also helped the politics of the country. The previous politics of sectarianism of religion and tribe was replaced by the politics of patriotism and Pan-Africanism. Nevertheless, even today, some elements still try to revive the politics of sectarianism. That, however, is a subject of another day. On the military and security side, a national patriotic force had been born, and Uganda has never looked back again. Having an ideologically patriotic, Pan-Africanist and transformational army different from the Barusura of Kabarega or Abamboa of Mutesa I or Enyena of Ontare 5 of Ankole or the King's African Rifles of the British or the Uganda Army and the UNLA of post-independence only solve the problems of ideology and composition of the National Defense Force. So, what did we solve in 1986? We solved the problem of how should the army be composed. Should it be composed democratically by recruiting from all parts, all the districts, equitably, or should we recruit it the way it was recruited before? That one was resolved. You see for yourselves. The other day I was in Ajumani, and the children there were complaining that they could not fulfill their quota because they had each district has got a quota. When there's recruitment, each district must bring so many people. But when I went to Ajumani, the children there were complaining that when they were checked, the blood, many were found with hepatitis, and they were not admitted, so they couldn't fill their quota. That's what they were talking. That's what they were complaining about. Then I said, you look for the ones who don't have hepatitis until you fulfill your quota. So, by 1986, what was resolved was how should the army be composed and what should be the ideas in the heads of these soldiers. And our answer was it must be composed nationally through quota recruitment from all districts, and it must be ideological, not partisan, but ideological. It could not, by itself, solve the problem of the professional and technical competencies of this new force. It could also not solve the strategic formula of the defense of the country. So, that one solved the issue of composition and ideology. But how about the strategy of the country? How are we to defend the country? Starting with the strategic formula, our line had been clarified by 1991. You remember at that time we had a huge army of 100,000. But when we analyzed, we said no, this too big an army is not good. It will undermine the security of the country. So you remember, those who are old enough, but even the young ones would have heard about it, that we decided to reduce the army from 100,000 to only 40,000 that time. And we laid off a big number. They were not happy, but we had to put our foot down and say, no, too many human beings are not good for the defense of the country. And I will show you why. I will show you why. So by 1991, the strategic line of how to defend the country had been resolved. The strategic formula for the defense of the country was to have a small standing army that is very well equipped, backed by a large reserve of local defense units, LDUs, vigilantes, other boys, crime preventers, whatever name you call them. These are Ugandans between the age of 18 and the age of 65 years. Because I checked with the head of Youth Affairs in the army today, before I came to give the speech, I said, in order to belong to the LBUs, how old should I be? He told me you must be 18 years, otherwise you will be a minor. And I said, how old should I be? Apparently, this is other people do not speak today. So I decided to go to 65 myself. Assuming that maybe beyond the 65, we may not be able to run very well. So, the reserve is comprised of this large number of these people. These are Ugandans between the age of 18 and the age maybe of 65 that in peacetime have military training but continue with their normal economic or professional activities. If there is need on account of insecurity or war, a necessary portion of them will be called up to back the standing army, the police force, and the intelligence services, so as to defeat the challenge. Indeed, this strategy was used against COIN in the north and ADF in the west. It is a reliable and affordable strategy for younger states still building their capacity. Even developed countries such as Israel use this strategy. It is therefore foolish and a waste of time for anybody to think that he or she can destabilize Uganda using weapons. We have an all-weather capacity to prevail in any war of aggression against us, any terrorist campaign against the country, or any crime wave. Since, however, calling up of manpower from the reserve involves spending more money on security and away from development, we are always hesitant to use this method of calling up the reserves. Human beings are more expensive to maintain compared to machines. Human beings need breakfast, they need lunch, supper, and some tea at intervals. They need medicine, clothes, housing, schooling for children, transport, entertainment, etc. And they have social issues, such as burying relatives who died, etc., etc. The machines, on the other hand, apart from the capital costs of buying them and some maintenance costs, they only make demands on the system when you use them,
So a human being, whether you use him or not, he will be eating. Even if there is no war, the fellow must eat. But for the machine, you can pack it, you only use it when you switch it on. The machines only make demands on the system when you use them, driving them, flying them if they are planes, firing them if they are guns. You can even oil them and pack them until you need them. You can have the equipment, you oil it, you wrap it, and you store it. You only get it out when you want to use it, so that you don't spend anything on it other than the original cost of purchase. It is called snowballing them when you wrap it and you keep it. Since these machines are complicated, the crews to man them when there is need should be trained in advance. Such crews need a lot of time to train them to the required proficiency levels. Unlike the riflemen and the machine gunners, the more complex systems need long periods of training. Therefore, these crews always form part of the standing army. In more advanced countries, such as Israel, however, the reserve force also has these crews of the advanced systems. In our case, because of the budget, we cannot manage to have pilots who are trained and are in the reserve. Because in Israel, you can have an engineer who is working in or a doctor, let's say take a doctor in a hospital, he goes and trains to become a pilot of a fighter plane, he qualifies, goes back to his work as a doctor. When there is need, he's called from the operational table, but he goes yearly for refresher course because he must keep going. But that is all budget. To train him to go for refresher course is all budget. Because of our budget, we are not able to train these highly qualified people in the reserve. We only train the ones who are in the standing army, in the army which is in the barracks. In our case, the limiting factor is the cost of training these crews. That is why, for now, we confine ourselves to the crews of the standing army. Apart from the technical crews, you also need a large number of officers and non-commissioned officers, sergeants, who can promptly exercise command within the more battalions, brigades, and divisions that we would call up in case of need. These again take time. They cannot conveniently be trained in a short time. They should therefore be prepared before as part of the standing arrangement. So therefore, how we plan to defend your country, that's why you hear that we don't have United Nations to defend us. And we shall never have United Nations to defend us. We are not Kateyambas. Kateyambas are the disabled people. But how do you defend yourself? How do we defend our country when we don't have a big budget? If you look at the budget of UPDF and you compare it with the budgets, the minister should bring these figures to the MPs. In dollar terms, it's not clarified. The total is well known. What is clarified is what you spend on. But the total is read here every year. I think this year it is what? Now, if you take that money, and you put it in dollar terms, and you compare it with the budget of other countries, you will be amazed. How can Uganda be able to have a strong army with such little money? They should get the figures and compare with other countries. You will see. But how did we do it? This is how we did it. We said, let's have a small army of well-educated people. Well, education is also a factor. Of well-educated people, well-equipped, well-trained, but let us also have a large reserve of the groups I have mentioned here. In the past, we used to call it mchaka. You know that type, mchaka. That was training our reserve. LDUs, vigilantes in Karamoja, crime preventers, border 2010, that's another. I don't think those were properly trained. So, by the standing army, as you need to listen carefully, because you should be very clear, especially you, the leaders, but even other people in the country. Because sometimes I see people worried, this one, those who are doing bad things are endangering themselves. We shall crush them. They have eyes, they can't see. They have ears, they can't hear. They don't know that they are playing with something very, very dangerous. Because all these things we have thought about, there is nothing we have not thought about. So the plan is, you have a small army of well-educated people, well-equipped, with a large number of technical crews, because you cannot train a pilot in 6 months. It takes a lot of time to train a pilot, to train a tank operator, to train, those, they take a lot of time. A large number of technical crews, a large number of officers. You have more officers than you need. You have surplus officers and NCOs. Now, when there is need, you call up the other people, the LDUs, because those ones are only dealing with the lower level technology equipment, rifle, machine gun. That is like throwing stones. You don't have too much technology, you just need how to aim properly. But when they are called, they find that you already have the more difficult to train. They are already there. And you can expand the army the way you want. Now that was part of the problem with Idi Amin, because he had that small army of his of 20,000, and he would go around thinking that he has got an army. But when he attacked Tanzania, which was part like our thinking, the Tanzanians were able to mobilize. Their own army was also small in peacetime. But because they had this system, the one I'm telling you, they were able to mobilize an army of 45,000, plus with the Ugandans who are more than 10,000, So we ended up having a number of almost 60,000 dealing with the small army of Idi Amin of 20,000. They could not cope. They could not cope. So, having dealt with the strategic concept of a small standing army with a large number of trained officers, NCOs, and technical crews, with a large reserve of trained riflemen and machine gunners, we now need to look at the professional and technical preparedness and adequacy of the army and the other security forces, because they complement one another. We must also look at the equipment and technology of these forces, especially the standing army, as well as the sister security forces, must develop capacity to cover the whole spectrum of threats in terms of skills and equipment. It is when there is an element in the whole spectrum that you have not dealt with that the country will experience a problem on account of that gap. On account of obvious reasons, I do not want to go into details in some of these subjects. I can, however, give one example. The agency, August 22nd, they were defeated. However, the insurgency, although not winning, dragged on until 2003, when they were totally defeated. In the 17 years of that insurgency, we have to neutralize whatever threat they deploy. Apart from the standard infantry weapons that we use to suppress them, we have to neutralize the threat of land mines. Because, like in that case, in the fight, there is one went to Sudan, got land mines. Oh, then he thought now, how will this NPDF solve the problem of land mines? If you got to drive from Gulu to Babo without being blown up by land mines, how will you manage? Are you not going to fail? So for them, they thought they had a big problem for us. Mines are the things you put in the ground and they bring out the bombs which are in the ground, which they planted on the road. But fortunately, how we solve that problem? By applying the mine-resistant mambas and buffaloes, as well as the chavi, mine detecting and mine betrayers. So what was our answer? So, we got mines from Bashir. Okay. We have an answer for you. So we went off. By that time, South Africa had become free. So we bought this mamba, which you see. That mamba has got a V-shaped bottom with a strong hammer. Even if it steps on a landmine, all the tires will be damaged. The people inside, they will continue, no problem. So, and then we have another system which could detect and remove the mine. So therefore, the poison which those people have got from Sudan, thinking that it would make us fail, was now neutralized. The enemy was hoping to block the use of the roads using these mines, but those mines were not useless for them. And then we will follow you, because when you plant, you want to make a trade. So we plant, we discover, we will follow you night and also deal with you. So in the end, you run out of night, you also run out of bodies. People working on foot on behalf of the government were fighting other people working on foot on behalf of the terrorists. That was another problem. The government had more manpower and guns, but the slow movement of those troops meant the fight was inconclusive and protracted. That is why we needed a fast-moving element in the equation, the Air Force, especially the gunships. The cabinet meeting in Gulu agreed to my proposal of cutting 23% from each ministry in terms of budget in order to start the building of the Air Force. At the Battle of Apopo in Amuria, the combined arms of the infantry and the Air Force, plus other elements of detecting where the enemy is, reconnaissance, broke the capacity of the enemy to resist. That was the end of the rural-based terrorism in northern Uganda. In the west, the ADF was finally defeated in 2007 in the Sembiki National Park and the Kijura escarpment, where they had infiltrated from Congo. One of the additional elements here were the sharpshooting commandos that decimated ADF. Now, recently, to give you another example, which is not written here, the Resort Mountains. You know that area is complicated because it is very high and cold. So we have now to create the mountain warfare brigade. The ones who specialize in mountain warfare. So if you think you can go to any problem with the mountain, you are just wasting your time. Hence, as we stand today, almost all the elements needed to defeating terrorism in the rural areas are in place. Without going into details, these involve detecting, locating, and destroying an organized group trying to fight guerrilla warfare in the forests, mountains, or bush quickly. This I can tell you that this is where we stand now. That's why you hear that ADF is in Congo, but they cannot enter here. They know the address of Uganda. But they cannot come here. That is why, since 2007, has had peace from corner to corner for the first time in the last 500 years. I have made this statement before, but because people are not serious, they don't listen to the words. This is the first time in 500 years this area you call Uganda has had peace from corner to corner. never had peace during the time of the kings. We never had time during the time of the peace in the time of the British in the whole Uganda. Not after independence. Even under the NRM, that's what I'm saying, that from 2007, I'm not saying from 1986, because even after the NRM we did not have peace in the whole country. It was only in 2007 when we defeated ADF, having defeated COIN, having disarmed the cattle rustlers in Karamoja. That's for the first time in 500 years, and I'm standing here authoritatively. I am a man of this area. I'm not an immigrant from anywhere. And I'm telling you that this is the first time we have had peace corner to corner in the last 500 years. So people who are not serious really need to listen carefully. Indeed, rural-based insurgency and cattle rustling were totally defeated and cannot resurface. That now left the issue of crime, both in the rural areas, the towns, and along the highways. Remember, crime is different from war. There is war, there is crime. On account of slower pace of life in the rural areas, crime using the old police techniques is easy to detect. There are less cars and pick-pickies in the rural areas. If cars and pick-pickies are used in crime, they would have been hard if it was at night, or seen if it was during the day. With our ubiquitous means everywhere, something which is in many places. With our ubiquitous telephone network, the residents can contact the police. The police can then mount impromptu roadblocks and trap these killers. If the criminals move on foot, they can easily be traced by using police dogs and other techniques. If the police are alert and they work closely with the people that are aroused in terms of vigilance, rural crime is easy to stop. The more troublesome rural crime is the stealing of vanilla from the gardens, stealing of coffee from the gardens, stealing of bananas from the gardens, or stealing of cattle or goats. The canine unit of the police, the Minister of Internal Affairs should at some stage inform you, because you know God loves the human being so much. He gave us so many things to help us. One of the things that can help us are the dogs. Those dogs, I don't know how God created their noses. They can smell anything. So, I told the former Inspector General of Police to develop many the former one. Because he was the one in charge that time. I told him to develop as many canine units as possible. The Minister of Internal Affairs should at some stage come and tell you how many they have now. Because if a dog unit even in a zone, the old zones of ours, you know, Arua for West Nile, Acholi, Lando. Even if you have 1 or 2 units in each of those zones, that dog unit can help you, can help us. But the problem we have, we need to sensitize the public about interfering with the scene of crime. Because when something happens, the people come and rush there and trample the scene of crime. So when you bring the dogs afterwards, they can't smell because so many people have interfered. But we need to educate the public, please, if something has happened, don't get near. You stay some distance. The police can guide us how that could be. Or if you approach it in an organized way, maybe one person to see whether the person is dead or not. But otherwise, the whole village, they come. Now you can no longer get any clues for the forensic. The dogs can no longer smell because there are so many people there. So otherwise, the canine unit, for instance, if you find that people have stolen your vanilla at night, instead of also interfering with the traces, you go back, call the police, let the police come with their dogs and see where the trail leads. It may lead, they may have stolen the vanilla and walked for some distance and then jumped on a vehicle. Okay. But then people would have heard, oh, there was a vehicle which we heard the sound in the night. Okay, you may not see it the first time, but now, with the roadblocks of the police in the area at night, you may catch these people now. But when you interfere with the scene of crime, then we don't know what to do, because you help the criminals to escape. The rich farmers can, of course, use private security organizations. Those who are rich people have 2 security people to stay in your garden, and you pay them. We could have called up LDUs for this task. We are, however, hesitant because of not wanting to divert money from Dongolobo development the Dongolobo and Tunguka development in Tunguka, in Plaplana, Apollo in that is how we call it. In Lukbara we say Anguzoza. Anguzoza. So that's why we try not to call up. We try not to call up the. We can call up the LDUs, but that means you have to pay them, you have to feed them, you have to clothe them, and that's the money we could be using to do other things. That's why we are now we are trying to look for smarter solutions, as I will show you. Even in the towns and the highways, where there are more vehicles, more human beings, more pikipikis, more houses, alertness of the police and vigilance of the public would cope with crimes. If you analyze the recent murders, there are always clues either before or after that are sometimes not followed up by the concerned people. I will tell you one example. The women who are being killed in Entebbe. Women dying. Of course, initially I didn't follow because I knew the police were involved. But when it happened a number of times, I decided to go there. And I spoke with one of the women. The one who owned a building in front of which one of the girls who was killed had a kiosk. And then these young mothers, our daughters, you know, these young women like you people here, the ones in their 30s, 40s, like your groups here, which I'm seeing, because many of you are here. Now, this young mother, or middle-aged, I think by that time you are middle-aged, in the 40s, what? This one said, as soon as I arrived there, I didn't even take long. She said, Nayaka Sarakano, Kaveranga Nyokumasimu. That Sarah was the name of the girl who was killed. That she was always on the phones. She used to see her. This Sarah was renting her space as a kiosk, space of this middle-aged mother, like your group. Even that day when she was knocking off from job because she left work at 8, and somebody was ringing her. So it was very easy. So I said, so somebody was, immediately I went and we traced those people. And we called them, even with the phone of Sarah. Yes. So, but if somebody has not bothered to pick the information from the landlady, the landlady is the one who told me that Kasara Kanukaveranga Nyok Masimu. This Sarah was always on the phones. Even that night when she left at 8 and died, somebody had rang her. So it was very easy in no time we got those people. So the problem of lack of vigilance by the public and the police. Police not bothering to find question, not even bothering to go, I don't know. So I didn't know why those people had not arrested those people. Now, when this lady told me, I had not even taken long. I just went there and said, what happened? That was the first sentence she told me. That young lady. And we were able to get the whole group. Now, when they were arrested, these people at the village, they even know one of that these were the children who would come during the day and sell fenesi. And as they are selling fenesi, these are fruits, jackfruit. As they were selling the jackfruit, they were seeing where to steal. And very simple, just crude village thuggery, not even high level crime, but just lack of vigilance. When I intervened in the murders of women in Entebbe, the murders of New Year's Day in Masaka area, the murder of Susan Magara, the murders which took place in Namayingo. You know, there was a time when Namayingo had become a no-go area. Namayingo, there was where Sheikh Daktur was killed, Muaya, Mayuga and Namayingo, both. Mayuga and Namayingo. Our LC3 chairperson of Namayingo, Tito Okero, it had become a terrorized area. I remember I was coming from Karamoja, And I went there. I just sat with a few people. Straight away you could see the clues. But nobody's So therefore, soon after, most of the culprits in those cases were arrested and charged in courts of law. Negligence and even collusion with the criminals by some elements in the security forces has been part of the problem. I had not directly involved myself in the fight against crime until the killing of Major Kigundu and AIGP Kawesi. I had assumed that the police force, which is now full of educated people since our 1980 reforms, would handle crime. Because our part of criticizing Idi Amin and the other governments was that these people have put people who are not educated in the army, in the police. That's why they are not doing their work. So, as soon as we had a chance to be in government, in 1980, when we were in that UNLF government, the first thing we did was to recruit graduates. This was the first time to recruit graduates for the police force. These Tejefuzas, Jim Mwezi, Odomer, Katumba Wamara was not a graduate that time, he graduated later. We recruited these people because we wanted a police force of educated people. You should come and get their CV. There are all, so many graduates there, educated people. I don't think you can join the police if you don't, even as a constable. You cannot join as a constable if you are not A level. I don't think so. So you have got a police force of educated people. Why should they be bothering an old man like me to go and be the one to look for criminals? So I had not directly involved myself in the fight against crime until the killing of. I had assumed the police force, which is now full of educated people, would handle the crime. However, with the earlier killings of the sheikhs, Mustafa Bahiga, Daktur Muaya, Jawat Madangu, Yusuf Sentamu, Chiria, Yunus Sentuga, etc., and Joan Kagezi, the killing of Chukun and Kawes provoked me into direct action. I came to the conclusion that just depending on the old police methods and the vigilance of the people are to be supplemented with technology to stop crime promptly instead of relying on protracted investigations. With the army, police, intelligence and prison service leaders, plus the subcommittees of the National Security Council, I have had intensive discussions resulting in conclusions in terms of what needs to be done in terms of subduing undetected crimes which breed impunity in the country. There should be no undetected crimes after we have taken the following measures. Number one, fingerprinting all the guns in Uganda. I have been using guns almost continuously ever since 1971. That is 47 years. I did not, however, know that guns have individual fingerprints. I thought that guns of the same caliber, e.g. AK-47 caliber 7.62 mm by 39 mm, would have the same fingerprints. Because, you know, I was using guns for war, not for police. So I didn't know that because with war you don't look for fingerprints, you look for dead bodies. You don't. In my interaction with the police, however, a few months ago, they educated me that the cartridges, Ebshuku, the one, left at the scene of crime can tell us which gun fired which bullet, and that they had the machine to read those fingerprints. These prints of yours, they have the machine to read all the fingerprints of the guns. That's what I found recently in my. Why then are you not using all these using it for all these murders? I asked them. The answer: we have not bothered to take the fingerprints of all the guns in Uganda. They had not bothered. They had not bothered. They had not seen it as necessary to see that all the guns in Uganda must be fingerprinted in this way. That was amazing, but true. I have now issued the order in the subcommittee of the National Security Council that all the guns must be fingerprinted by firing each gun a number of times in controlled conditions to capture the fingerprints of each one of them. That will mean that if any legal gun in Uganda is used, we shall know which gun was used, and since we know who is carrying which gun, we shall easily know the crime perpetrator. That will account for all the legally held guns. If any of them is diverted to crime, we shall know. That, however, will not cover the guns smuggled in from the neighboring countries, which will be captured by other measures. Because, you see, this one will help us to know that there is no legally held gun held by the army, held by the police, by the intelligence services, even the ones held under the Licenses Act, because you can go and buy a gun, from the police with a license. All those legally held guns will now no longer be. If they are used, we shall know. So that will mean that those ones are now traceable. But that will not capture the ones which are smuggled and are not part of this of this stored information. But for those who shall use other measures, it will at least remove this problem of the gun is legal, but it is loaned to do illegal things and comes back to legality. That one at least will be handled. The second measure we intend to introduce is to require every motor vehicle and every piki-piki to have electronic number plates installed at the cost of the owner. Now that's where now I need your support. This will enable us, because these number plates which are there now are just a joke. They are screwed on, unscrewed, thrown away. They have no meaning. So therefore, we want to introduce electronic number plates with an electronic signal in them. Now, if you are going to visit your girlfriend or what, we are not interested in those things. Because some people...
Order members.
Some people are worried. They are worried that if we can electronically trace you, then we shall know you are. But you don't have to worry at all. We can embed it in the law that this information should never be retrieved or looked for except if your car or your piki-piki is found on the scene of the crime. We can protect the privacy. We can protect privacy. It is only when your car or your piki-piki is found in the scene of the crime. That's all. Otherwise, what if you are doing your other things? Why would anybody bother with you? This will enable us. This will enable us to know which vehicles or piki-pikis were in which area if a crime is committed in the different areas. The electronic gadget would be so tuned that if anybody tries to interfere with the number plates, the central monitoring system will be alerted and the registration will be cancelled, and then we shall go, because like in these cases, they bend the number plate. They bend it. They bend it. Either they remove it completely or they bend it. You can't read it. Yes. But this time, if you touch it, you try to run it, the central system will be alerted. Why are you trying to interfere with your... Why are you trying to interfere with the number plate? We come for you. The electronic gadgets will be so tuned that if anybody tries to interfere with the number plate, the central monitoring system will be alerted and the registration will be cancelled, and then we shall go for the offender. The police has already banned, this is number 3 now. The police has already banned the practice of people zooming along our roads with jacket hoods to hide their identity. You know, they have these jackets. You have my jacket, you bring my jacket. There are these jackets which they wear as if it is for warmth, but then they cover their heads. They only leave only the eyes. And when he commits a crime, even during broad daylight, you can't see. So the police has banned this. We are now saying that if we see you hooded, we shall challenge you. And if you don't know something may. The police will challenge anybody covering himself in that way. How about the helmets then? Because if you say, okay, we have banned the jacket hoodie, but how about the helmets? Because the helmets also can cover your face and you are not seen properly. Should people ride pick-picks without helmets? Because the helmets also hide identity. No, we need the helmets. We however need new helmets with illuminated numbers both in front and at the back. Want these helmets to have numbers illuminated, the ones which can shine at night, so that you can see the number here at the back and the number in front. These helmets will also be registered and put in the central computer system in the police or wherever is appropriate. I want to persuade NEC, National Enterprise Corporation, and NSSF to partner with the private sector in manufacturing these number plates and helmets locally. I do not want to lose a lot of foreign exchange on account of helmets, number plates, etc. The Uganda Telecommunication Commission, the Uganda Telecommunication UTL is working on assembling and manufacturing mobile phones here. The same must be done for the TV sets, radios, electricity transformers, etc. These massively consumed items should not be imported, but should be made here. Therefore, even for the helmets and for the number plates, they will have to be made here. I salute Mzee Meta for making the cables here for a long time, because that one has solved one. So that's how they confuse people. Number 4, the master blow to the criminals is number 4. This is the installation of cameras in the town, on the town roads and the streets and along the highways. As somebody who has been involved in security and combat issues for the last 50 years, I can tell you that potentially the criminal or the enemy can evade other forms of detection except the optical. The optical meaning the eye, the camera, the telescope. When we attacked and overran Kampala in 1986, few people in the world believed that we had such capacity. Most of the embassies in Kampala were dismissive of our capacity. Why was this? Partly because we never used the radios, the military radios. We never used the military radios or the telephones for any of our plans. So I have been warning security forces not to depend too much on telephones and things like that. Because serious criminals after will avoid the use of telephones. These ones who use telephones, they are not very serious criminals. They are just taking advantage of the disorganization. But the one thing you cannot escape is the optical, the human eye, to see, and the camera, and the telescope. Those three. Whatever you do, you cannot escape them. Yeah. And that's what, for me, I think this should be the anchor of the anti-crime. Therefore, our security forces should use our ears to listen for any clues, but should know that the eye is unbeatable and unflankable. Satellite cameras in space may be obstructed by cloud cover. The satellites, they are far. They are above the cloud cover. So when it is cloudy, the satellite cameras may not see. But these cameras on the road, those ones you cannot escape. They are like the human eye. They are like me, like I'm seeing you now. I can see that these are good people, these are bad people. I can see them. I can see that there is Mega, the sister. Amina, that is Rangi. But Achori, Lamera. I can see my Lamera here. Therefore, the eye. However, the cameras on the ground, if necessary, with the thermal sensors, because then the cameras will have the problem of night. What happens at night if there are no lights? But you can have the ones which have thermal, which can see the temperature of the body. Will not fail us. If the criminals try to play their childish games of covering their heads, now of course they may try to cover their heads when they are traveling, but the man in the command post will see, why is that one covering his head? And alert the police. There is somebody who is riding, covering his head. Intercept him. It will be very easy. If it is a helmet, he's covering himself with, it has an illuminated number, and he's riding on a picky with electronic number plates. Now, somebody has said that, how about the villages? People who go to the villages branch from the main roads. So, if somebody branched going to Chegere or those inside there in a patch, we shall, from the cameras of the main road to Rira, we shall know how many pikipikis branched this way. Now that helps us to narrow, to narrow on that day how many pikipikis branched going this way, even if there are no cameras inside. But we shall have a smaller area to look at, so that we can follow up. The fifth method of discovering criminals is having a modern forensic laboratory. I had thought that the electronic national identity card would solve part of this problem by capturing our fingerprints, only to be told that they only captured thumbprints and not the palm prints. Why did you not tell us to provide our palm prints? We therefore needed to have our palm prints captured. We also needed the DNA of the criminals to be captured, that when the blood samples are left on a crime scene, they are traceable. Now, we had a debate within the National Security Council. For me, I didn't see any problem providing my blood sample so that they can keep my DNA in the computer. But some people said they don't like their DNA to be in the computer. But what's the problem? I don't see. For me, because you see the good thing with the DNA, if we find blood samples on the scene, quickly we know whose blood samples these are. Quickly we know whose blood samples these are. If it is a case of rape, then very easily we know who was involved. If even sweat, we take a jacket like this one, it will be having sweat on it, we shall know who was sweating in this jacket. Even saliva, even the hair. So, really, if we want our country to be peaceful, I don't see what I fear to give my DNA to be stored. What are you fearing? What is it? Huh? I mean, who can lose? Who will lose if all our DNAs are stored centrally, so that if there is a problem, we find here, then we go for. Only the criminals are worried. Yes. So please, I appeal to you. I appeal to you to support me. So that we stabilize our country. You see, when the country is very peaceful, I normally see my grandchildren, our Ugandan grandchildren. This in the red paper, they're putting up their legs. So, my wife is always very angry. Say, well, this is what? I say, you leave with these children. We shall see how to guide them. But this is freedom. They are free. They stay in their Mikesa, Transnight, what? We shall guide them slowly to get out of gambling, to get out of these things they are involved in. But let there be peace. Be no crime. So please, let's do everything possible to endanger criminals. With the this is now number 6. With the cameras and other means of detection, then the next challenge in the fight against crime is speed of response and how quickly we arrive at the scene. I have directed the police to revive the 9-9. And the flying squad. Only that this time, the flying squad will really be a flying squad, not a crawling squad through heavy traffic, and you call it flying squad. How shall we make it a real flying squad? By providing it with UAVs. These UAVs are unmanned air vehicles, what you call drones. In addition to the pikipikis, to the cars, to the light helicopters, etc. These drones are very useful. You can be here in the Central Police Command Post. We are using them in the army, and they help us. You don't have to have people running all over the bush. You can stay in one place, and you send they call it a drone, but for us we call them UAVs, unmanned air vehicles. That's why we call them UAVs. And you just watch the whole forest from your warm air-conditioned room. You don't have to have people wasting money with the dry ration, because you know when they go in the field, they want to go with food, they want to go with what. Now here you stay in one place, you send out this thing so if there is any call to the 9-9, immediately the drone flies out. And if anybody is trying to escape with the pikipikis, it will be on him. And then the rest will. Number 7.
Order, members.
Number 7. While we use the UAVs to fight crime, the enemy can also use UAVs to promote crime. The Defense Committee has authorized 30 legal UAVs. This Defense Committee is chaired by the Commander of the Air Force. 131 UAVs have put in their application, and these applications are being analyzed. And 500 have been impounded because they were trying to enter the country illegally. some people are trying to bring in UAVs illegally because they want to spy on people. They want, I don't know what they want to do. Hence, these UAVs must be regulated. The responsible minister, I don't know who the responsible minister is. Is it the Minister of Transport? Is it the Minister of Defense? We shall have to see. Internal Affairs, I don't know who. Under the Prime Minister, needs to evolve a policy and a bill for the cabinet discussion, which will eventually come to Parliament for debate to control the use of these UAVs. In the meantime, with the security personnel, we have discussed and agreed as to how to deal with the hostile UAVs. There are technical means of neutralizing those UAVs. One of the technical means is to jam it and then it falls down. The other one is to locate who sent it. Who sent this UAV? You go for him. These are the smaller ones which fly at a low level. The big ones which fly in the airspace, those are seen by the radar. The radar can see them. The radar of the Air Force. So those, if they are big ones, we can shoot them down with the Air Force planes or missiles. So these are not a problem. They will be handled. They are just a nuisance. They will be handled, and we shall use them properly to enhance security. Minister needs to evolve a policy and a bill for cabinet discussion and eventually bring it to Parliament. In the meantime, that one I've already said. Number 8, the other insecurity is the misuse of social media. Criminals use the social media to threaten violence and spread lies and cause panic. We are going to acquire capacity on top of what the Uganda Communication Commission already has to quickly locate the criminal without interfering with the other honest users. Why do you hide your identity if you are a genuine person who thinks he or she is right? You are hiding your identity because you are a liar. We shall expose you. Yes, we shall get you. We shall get you. Of course, we can also block, but we don't want to block I don't want to block because our grandchildren are using them. So we just need to go for the jigger. When the jigger enters your foot, you don't cut the whole foot. No, you just go for the jigger, you push. Number 9, we shall acquire more scanners under the URA, Uganda Revenue Authority, to look into all the containers entering and leaving Uganda so that the under declarers of imports stop cheating URA and the criminals who infiltrate guns hidden as cargo are apprehended or deterred. In August 1981, the late Gregory Kaluletwa, working for the NRA, infiltrated a lorry full of rifles and landmines with the T on top, all the way from Burundi, through the 2 borders of Rwanda, through Katuna, and delivered the cargo to our units at Najemba Forest between Matuga and Wakiso. In 1972, I brought 12 rifles in brand new shining suitcases from Bukova to Arusha, Moshi, Lungalunga border north of Tanga, to Mombasa, Nairobi, Tororo, all the way to Kampala. Yes, it was treason, yes, but it was... It was legitimate treason. That era of weak or non-existent state authority should have been long over. The scanners we have are not enough. URA already has some scanners, but we need more. We need scanners to cover all the land borders, all the landing sites for the wagon ferries, Port Bell and Jinja, and for the airport. Finally, back to the army. Our strategy is to have a small army with a large number of officers, NCOs and technical crews, and also with enough equipment, but backed by a large reserve force. We have carried out the audit and have identified what needs to be done, and we are working on it. Our capacity is robust, created over the last 50 years. We have abundant capacity to guarantee the security of Uganda. All the criminals, including those hiding in Congo, will pay for their sins. Whatever is done in hiding, it will be proclaimed on the rooftops. It says in the book of Luke, chapter 12, verse 2 to 3 as follows. There is nothing concealed that will not be disclosed, or hidden that will not be made known. What you have spoken in the dark will be heard in the daylight, and what you have whispered in the inner rooms will be proclaimed on the housetops. End of course, and I thank you.
Item number 6, anthems in reverse order.
I will suspend the House. I will suspend the House for 30 minutes to allow the President to leave. House suspended for 30 minutes.
The Timeline is brought to you by
Everywhere You Go. Go TV! Live it, love it! Stanbic Bank. Moving forward.
Accordance to Article 155, Section 1 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, on behalf of His Excellency the President, the budget for the financial year 2018-2019 was presented to Parliament on the 25th of March 2018. It was duly approved by Parliament on the 1st of June 2018, and on the 14th of June 2018, the budget for the financial year 2018-2019 was presented by the Honorable Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, Honorable Matia Kasaija. The budget for the next financial year was somehow anticipated because of some of the proposed and later approved tax amendments. For example, the 1% tax on mobile money, the 100 Uganda shillings added on petrol and diesel, and not forget the social media tax. If you're planning on building your own house this year, I can gladly tell you that you are going to be enjoying some tax exemptions on locally produced construction materials. As soon as the Honorable Minister of Finance was done, we of course were anticipating the speech from the CEO, the man himself, President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. And judging by your social media reactions, it wasn't that much pretty. Meanwhile, whoever organized this year's Chivuru, we noted that there were very many empty seats. It's like Palasso's ghost had visited the conference center. Next year, we are going to give this Chivuru to Sabavuru Baram. I think he can do a better job. Anyway, later on, we learned that the opposition had boycotted the budget speech. So there we go. Instead of lumomongering, how about you share? If you see any suspicious activity in the community, you can tag the police at Police UG. For the guys in the metropolitan area, that Twitter handle is is at MET Police UG. And make sure you tag us as well on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at The Timeline 256. And make sure you get yourself a GoTV decoder. 76,500 Uganda shillings is all you need to get yourself at that special box. And oh yes, MTN Pulse is still waiting for you. All you have to do is dial *157#, choose your preferred data bundle, and MTN Pulse has too many data bundles that I am very sure will suit you somehow, some way. That's it from The Timeline. From Uncle D, ciao, adios.
The Timeline was brought to you by...
Have no fear. Show some skills with MTN Game Plus. Visit games.mtn.co.ug and choose from over 1,000 awesome games. Everywhere you go, MTN.
Never miss a minute. We're bringing Russia to your home. Catch all 64 matches of the 2018 FIFA World Cup Russia live on dedicated SuperSport channels on GoTV.
But I thought Daddy was a banker.
Yes, he is. He works at Stanbic Bank.
For us, improving lives is why we do what we do, because a better tomorrow starts now. Stanbic Bank, moving forward.